right, you guys, we're doing it. Finally. I know it's been a very long delay, but I promise you, technology is not as easy as it seems sometimes. Yeah, so long story short, we're here now. We're going to do this webinar because it's super important. We're very close to 2020 and we need to make as much progress as we possibly can. So let's get straight to work. Okay, so just for the sake of transparency, I'm going to use my personal copy of my planner so you guys can see how functional it is and how I've already been using it, and 2020 hasn't even started yet. So, and I've kind of personalized it with my own little sticker that I got from a coffee shop in Baltimore that I actually have come to love. And I just put this on here so I don't get it confused with the other books that I have. I know this one is mine. Okay, so as you can see, I have the dot grid that goes all throughout the planner. The goal is to get people away from just journaling and more so towards brain dumping. And I'll actually explain what brain dumping is in a whole different video, but just understand that these dot grids have a purpose and we can talk about that at another time. But anyway, stay organized, the Paper Life Coach 2020 Weekly Planner. Of course, we have the 2020 calendar that goes from left to right. So from January to December. And federal holidays and other important holidays. So we're going to start off, like I said, in the self-assessment section. This color is Neo Mint Green. It's actually one of the colors for 2020. You can Google it and see it for yourself. There will be other colors depending on the country that you live in and you know what you follow. But it's what inspired this color for me. And then the charcoal gray was just a good complement for it. Okay. So the first part asks the question, who are you? And it lists the acronym VITALS, which stands for values, interests, temperament, around-the-clock activities, life missions, and meaningful moments, and strengths. And let's just read this little paragraph together. It says, there's a real benefit to understanding who you are. Your vitals help you to identify the part of yourself that will help you tap into and heighten your self-awareness. You will find it easier to advocate for yourself when you figure out what makes you happy, the things you like to avoid in life, and what brings you peace as opposed to conflict. Vitals also help you to be more certain of yourself and less susceptible to social pressures, especially in the technological world we live in. The more in touch with yourself you become, the more empathetic and aware you become of others as well. So the goal of understanding your vitals, which stands for values, interests, temperament, around-the-clock activities, life missions, and meaningful moments and strengths, isn't just about knowing what you like and what you don't like. Like, oh, I like popcorn. I hate olives. Oh, I like, sunsets. I hate rain. That's that regular stuff you talk about when you're going on a date with somebody. We're talking about you getting to know yourself. But as you get to know yourself and become self-aware, as the paragraph mentioned, the more in touch with yourself you become, the more empathetic and aware you become of others as well. So I want you to imagine this page, and I've given other people this kind of comparison to the book being like that red dot. When you go to the mall and you see the directory and it has the map and has that little red dot that says you are here. The reason why that little red dot is so important is because in order for you to understand where Urban Outfitters or Chili's is, or, Office Depot or Michael's, you need to know where you are so that you know to get to that, you need to make a left. To get to that, you need to make a right. Without that red dot, that directory would be less beneficial and not super helpful as it should be. So once you identify who you are, you'll be able to identify the other things around you and navigate through life, and more specifically navigate through 2020. So let's get into it. The first part we're going to look at is the vitals, and it explains in step 1 what all of these columns mean. So the purpose of this is to determine your core values. These are all a list of values, but instead of highlighting every single one, because I'm sure you've seen these in yourself over the years, you want to highlight the ones that really resonate with you. And we don't want you to overthink it, because then you'll have every single thing highlighted, and that's not the goal. So for instance, these are the ones that I've highlighted for myself. And you'll also see numbers beside them, but we'll get to that when we turn to the next page. But yes, so achievement, advancement, balance, cleverness, creativity, credibility, curiosity, expressiveness, flexibility, freedom, growth, honesty, intelligence, leadership, personal development, trustworthiness. these are super important to me because for my values, I know for a fact that these are my values. But the goal isn't just to understand your values. We're trying to get to your core values, like your center. So what we're going to do is take what we've highlighted. Oh, one more thing to keep in mind. You'll notice some things have been repeated. It's just a general human error, just with typos. And we're going to work on taking care of those a little bit more specifically with the next book, since these have already been pre-printed. So if you notice any typos, be aware that we understand them too. But, you know, manufacturing has occurred and we just got to move forward. So if you highlight the same thing twice, you don't have to put it on the list twice. But we are aware of it. So we're going to take our values. We're going to go over to the next page. And you'll see that with step 2, the point is to group all similar values together. Now you have to decide what will cause you to group them together. That's how you would choose to group. It's almost like if you were cleaning your room, what would make you put all of your shirts or blouses in 2 different places? What's the credentials for what constitutes something to be a shirt or a blouse or pants, leggings, jeans? So however you choose to separate your values from the first page is up to you. Just know that they have to fit into these 5 boxes. So for me, this is box number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5. There's not a lot of space, so you can actually take a scrap piece of paper and have it right beside you and, you know, create boxes and you can write it over. Or you can do what I have done, which is to number them. So even if I hadn't put them in these boxes here, but I did both to, just show you how it works, you could actually understand that anything with the number 1 represents that box. So for me, achievement, advancement, growth, and personal development, I put all of those in my box number 1. And as you can see, they're also numbered with number 1. Same with box number 2. I put cleverness, creativity, and curiosity together. And you'll see the ones that have number 2 are those. Same with 3, 4, and 5. Now, when you get to step 3, the point is to choose one word out of each group that you feel best represents or like is a label for the rest of the group. And that's what will kind of bubble forth to the top. Like you ever watch on the news when they are doing the lottery or the lotto or whatever they want to call it. And the numbers are just going around in that little circle thing. And then that one number just pops up. That's how you want this to be. One of those words from this group should pop up and represent all of them. So out of this section 1, which of these values super resonates with you? So for me, yes, I value achievement, advancement, growth, and personal development, but personal development takes the cake on that one. For cleverness, creativity, and curiosity, creativity took the cake on that one, okay? Same with freedom, expressiveness, and honesty. This was the point of that whole entire first page. It says these are your 5 core values. They define you. As you move through this year, try to focus your energy not just on accomplishing your goals, but also on connecting with individuals who share values with you. Consider these values before you make decisions and commitments. Decisions for partners, friendships, careers, everything. Once you clearly identify who you are, which is that red dot on the directory, now you can choose what direction or what store you want to walk into. But at least you know where you are. With friends, my friends share values with me, and that's the glue that holds us together. So it's not enough to just have a common interest, like, a shared sport or something like that. So if you're trying to be friends with someone who likes the same sports team as you, everybody in that stadium could potentially be your friend. But what differentiates someone with a shared interest to someone with a shared value? So do we like the same sports, but also value freedom and honesty? That's something that will bring your friendships and those connections closer. That's something to think about, right? Okay, so now that we've already gone over our values, the next is interests. We're going to go over these 2, and that's why I filled them out, and then the rest will be up to you. So with interests, it says, we'll focus on your interests, not just what you're interested in recreation-wise, kind of like what we talked about before with, I like, lacrosse or I like baseball. Not just the things you enjoy doing with others, but the things you enjoy doing by yourself. Take a moment to think and write those things below. So I wrote, I enjoy doing research. I'm not sure if it's the thrill of the challenge or I just enjoy feeling smart. I enjoy designing, from basic logo designs to creating ideas for sewing, organizing events and curating events. I like to talk a lot. I like analyzing people, things, and data. I enjoy documentaries too, which makes sense since it's a collection of information in a video format. Temperament. It says, temperament refers to the aspects of an individual's personality, the habitual inclinations and emotional responses. To help you gain a general understanding of your own temperament, flip over to page 12 and take the quiz. Write your opinion of your temperament results and any additional findings below. So, going back to interests, if you looked at this paragraph, these are things that by myself, without any judgment or anyone needing to validate the things that I enjoy doing, these are the things that I really, really like to do. Now that's interesting if you're the type of person that's only accustomed to going on dates and asking questions that someone else asks you, like, oh, what do you like to do for fun? Generally, we'll start to answer questions that we think the other person would want us to hear. Want us to say, things that sound cool, all types of different things. And this isn't for everyone. I am generalizing individuals with this statement, but there's a freedom in getting to talk about yourself to yourself. You're asking yourself these questions. And the same with temperament. But we have a little help with temperament, and it instructs us to go over to page 12. Page 12 is a temperament test. The temperament test is similar to the values in the sense where you do have to highlight or circle your answers, but the difference is with the temperament test, you actually get a graded response for it. So out of each section, you have a total number of words. So out of this box, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I circled 9 things. Out of this box, I circled 7 things. Out of this box, I circled 4 things. Out of this box, I circled 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. From there, you take the corresponding table. So that goes to that to that, that to that, that, and that. You don't have to look for the top 2. I just chose to because they were so similar. 12 and 9 were very similar, just to see. And then when I read what it said on table 3, because that was my number 1, I was like, wow, I can really connect with that. It explains to you your strengths, your weaknesses, and limitations. And then it gives you something to consider and also work on. This was interesting to me because even though it's not as big as table 3 is, table 1 still kind of described me. And it reminded me of a lot of my business-minded friends. Well, not a lot, but some of them that I'm very close to. And it made sense why we would clash. And then sometimes why we get along. It's a lot of information, but it was definitely fun. So I'm going to take the information that I picked up from page 12 and by default page 13. Then I'm going to go back and answer here. So it says, write your opinion of your temperament results and any additional findings below. So for me, I wrote, I agree about me being an analyst. I think the hard part to change or understand is being optimistic. I didn't realize I wasn't. I feel like I am optimistic, but maybe not enough. I spend so much time analyzing the possible outcomes, generally negative, of course, that I don't speak enough positivity over myself. So just because I don't speak about the positive doesn't mean that I don't see it or think about it. But it reminded me that I need to speak positivity over myself. So in the same breath where I can find 20 things that could go wrong, maybe I need to find at least 19 or 10 or 11 things that could go right and say those things out loud. Because if not, I'm only listening to myself say negative things. And if I'm saying it to myself in a very critical way, imagine how I make other people feel when I'm speaking over their ideas and thoughts. I don't want them to feel judged or anything like that. So temperament has nothing to do solely with just being temperamental, moody, or angry. It describes a lot of different things. So I learned quite a bit about my temperament from the temperament test. And not only can you take just the table, but you can take the information in the table and then Google it. Do more research on yourself if you want to. This is not homework. You're not obligated to do it. But this is giving you the opportunity to really get to know yourself. So in your free time, Google it. Instead of getting on Instagram, go to Google. Look up thinkers and organizers, personality traits. perfectionist tendencies, things like that. And you'll just learn so much more about yourself, right? So let's go back to page 11. Around the clock activities, life missions, meaningful moments, and strengths. In this situation, you kind of can't go wrong because however you interpret it is whatever it means. The point is for these curated questions to get you thinking about yourself. That's what you want to do. Get to know yourself. So write down answers that you don't feel comfortable saying to other people, things that you feel you possibly could be judged on, things you probably haven't said out loud. Read your questions, read your answers out loud to yourself. Just connect with yourself. That's the entire point of this. And by the time you get to the other sections, you'll be more certain about who you are, which will help you to be honest even more so as we move forward, right? So let's go to the mood map. The mood map is interesting. Some of the information in the self-assessment planner was actually from the internet, and I just had to cross-reference it a few times, and the reference page is in the back of the planner. But the mood map was designed by me. The concept of the mood map is the same way if you lost an item, whether it's your glasses, your keys, your phone, you'll start to backtrack the last time that you had it just to see where it could be. Same with your mood. A lot of times people assume that they just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but you didn't. What if you have been in this mood for a couple of days? What if this day was just the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's been kind of simmering in your subconscious for some time? You could have been feeling this way for weeks, let alone months, and in some instances with people, years. So the point is to go through using your 6 senses, and I include intuition if that applies to you, to understand your feelings. So let's just get right into it. It says, do you feel cold or hot? Do you miss someone's touch? Is your clothing uncomfortable? Did you come in contact with a person recently and notice a shift in your energy? It sounds like pointless questions to start, but if you think about the first question, do you feel hot or cold or hot? Let's say you just recently transferred positions from a cold climate to a hot. So you went from living in Maine to Arizona. You're accustomed to cold. You know how to add layers to yourself to get warmer and feel comfortable. But now that you live in Arizona, along with the woes and anxieties of a new move and a transition, now you're just processing heat and you feel hot and you're irritable and you've been feeling irritable for a while, but maybe the air conditioner has gone up. So now it's just unbearable. In your mind, you're upset because the air conditioner went up, but actually it's the extreme heat of Arizona that you thought you would transition and get accustomed to, and you haven't yet. That may be the reason why you've been grumpy for the past 3 months or however many months you've been in Arizona. At least if you're able to identify what's bothering you, when you're walking into a space where your energy could affect someone else, you're able to excuse yourself and explain to them in advance what's bothering you, where they can give you the benefit of the doubt, opposed to them noticing the shift in your energy before you do. It's almost like body odor. I've given this comparison before as well. No one wants to be the stinky kid. No one wants to be the stinky kid in the classroom. And sometimes the same way body odor can make a huge impact on people. Like they'll smell that before they even see you. It's the same with your energy. People will feel that before they even see you. So if you're able to identify your own shifts in your own energy prior to anyone else, then you can put a stop to some embarrassing moments, especially as an adult. And just be as graceful as possible as you transition through different moods and feelings. So I just love it. You've summarized what you can based off of each, and then you get to the bottom and you summarize those feelings. From there, you can write down what you think is actually bothering you after you look at everything. And then you can also look at things that you can do to make you happy. And it refers you to page 88. Now, we won't go into that because 88 is inside of the organizing and planning, but at least you know when we get to that page where it is coming from. It's mindfulness. It says mindfulness is a state of non-judgmental awareness of what's happening in the present moments, including the awareness of one's own thoughts, feelings, and senses. This page is very personal, so I'm looking forward to you guys going over it alone, on your own. It's very simple, so I don't even have to break it down. You'll read it, you'll understand it. It says, note, mindfulness is a state of mind rather than a particular action or exercise. However, without practice, mindfulness is difficult to achieve. These techniques are designed to help you practice. So as you read this, keep in mind that this is not something that's going to solve all of your problems immediately. You need to put these things into practice and trust yourself, trust your body, trust your mind, trust your judgment, kind of release, just be in the moment. The purpose is to be present. Anxiety is when you're thinking too far in the future. Mindfulness helps you to think in the present. And sometimes the present is a hard reality too. So you're thinking about the best parts or the logical parts of the present. But yeah, get into mindfulness, read that page for yourself. Email me if you have any additional questions or you just want to converse a little more about it. Email address is hello@thepaperlifecoach.com. With that being said, let's get into the generalized anxiety disorder self-test. I'm focusing on anxiety because depression is a whole different beast. And with anxiety, sometimes it's even hard to determine whether or not you have an anxiety disorder, or maybe you're just having a series of anxious thoughts. So if you learn the difference between the two, then you know which one that you need to get help for. At either rate, it tells you that once you finish this test to reach out to a medical professional for more information. So do not rely on this test to be the answer to all of your problems. This is just the beginning. Consider it an appetizer. Maybe an endless appetizer, but you'll probably just get sick off of that. So just reach out to medical professionals. This just gets your juices flowing, your emotional juices flowing to figure out what you need. It talks about the difference between normal anxiety and generalized anxiety disorder, what a generalized anxiety disorder is, and then how to cope with and manage your anxiety. So take advantage of these resources. And from here, extend forward. Go on Google. Look at the things that you need to look up for yourself. You got to be an advocate for yourself as well. I definitely want to do my part, but you have to take the reins from there and navigate for yourself. From there, let's get into decatastrophizing. Decatastrophizing is a cognitive disorder. A lot of times we know that our words are powerful. But before our words come out of our mouths, they are thoughts. And those thoughts have the power to influence how we feel. So decatastrophizing allows us to stop catastrophizing a situation. Sometimes we'll exaggerate the worst possible outcome of a scenario, and none of those worst case scenarios will come to fruition. So what we want to do now is look at our feelings in a logical way. If you think about what you're worried about, you ask yourself, how likely is it to happen? If it happens, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then what's the reality of that thing? What's the reality of what will actually happen based on that thing? This page allows you to spiral out of control with worry and then reel yourself back with facts. So let's use an example about what are you worried about. Let's say you're worried about losing your job because of your performance. And if you lose your job, then you'll fall behind on bills and your car will get repossessed because you're already 2 months behind on your car payment. So that's what you're worried about. Now, how likely is your worry? How likely is it that your worry will come true? It's pretty likely that your worry is going to come true. It says, give examples of past experiences or other evidence to support your answer. Maybe your mom had her car repossessed before, or your brother or sister or friend, and they explained to you the experience. Maybe you got a letter from the finance company saying like, hey, you got a month left and then we're coming to get our stuff back, you know. So there you're just trying to really paint the picture of what could possibly happen. Like, you know, how likely is it that this is going to happen before you put all of your worry into that one basket, you know. If your worry does come true, what's the worst that could happen? Now, here's where you get to be as colorful as your anxious thoughts will allow you within reason. So if you feel like, oh my goodness, not only is the car going to get repossessed, but the worst part is I use that car to get my kids to and from school. Their homework and assignments are in there. So if the car gets repossessed, then we can't get their belongings out. I've never had a car repossessed, but when you get your car towed, the tow truck company won't let you go and get your personal belongings. So definitely fact check me on that. I'm just throwing it out there. But worst case scenarios aren't even based on facts. They're your worry anyway. So literally whatever you think could happen, write that down. Yeah, that's a lot. So and then you could say, well, if I'm looking for another job, I won't have a car to ride around in. And, you know, my mom needs to get to her appointments, or my grandmother, and I won't be able to do it. Have fun with that, okay? And by fun, I mean not literally fun, but just go ahead and be anxious there. So it says, if your worry does come true, what's most likely to happen? That's where we want to be really serious with ourselves. What's going to happen? Yes, your car is going to get repossessed. Yes, it is going to be an issue with how your kids get to and from school, but not for too long. You're going to wake up earlier. You're going to discuss with them the proper bus routes, safety, whether that's you going to work late. At this point, you won't have a job because you'll be unemployed. So now you get to take the bus to and from to make sure that they can get to school and get home safely. You can work something out with your mom or your grandmother where they're catching Ubers, but you can ride with them so that they're safe. All of these things. What else? If you know your car is going to get repossessed, don't leave precious or important things in the car. Everything needs to come out, whether it's the coin in your ashtray, personal information in your glove box, all of that type of stuff. You already know what's going to happen, so you can prepare for it. That's what's most likely to happen. So once you compare the two, you realize that there's a likelihood that something here could happen, but you're not going to overwhelm yourself with all of these thoughts. Sometimes this can feel like a swarm of bees in your head. And this right here, or mosquitoes in the summertime, that's too much. This right here is a nice little net where you can see it and you're protected from it and you get what you need. Whether that's you have the door open so you can let some fresh air in, but that net is keeping those mosquitoes from coming in. You understand what's going to happen to you in real life, and that's what we're focusing on. It says, if your worry comes true, what are the chances you'll be okay in 1 week? You may not be okay in 1 week. That's a lot of new arrangements and changes to make. So you may be only 10% okay with this out of 100%. In 1 month, it would have gotten down to a habit, and you may have started to pick up side jobs or odds and end job getting paid under the table in order to finance bus routes and Ubers and things like that. In a year, you may be 100% better because by then you would have learned the valuable lesson. You would have made sure that at your next job, your performance isn't an issue. You would have saved up more money for a rainy day, possibly. And the fear of that happening to you again will prevent you from making those same decisions. And this is perfect because this is such a valuable life lesson here. The point is to fix yourself. Granted, like I said, medical attention is necessary. Please seek out a medical professional, especially a therapist. But a lot of times we can decatastrophize on our own. And don't judge yourself too bad if you find yourself still wanting to talk to friends and, have those little personal pity parties, because you just need to get that negative out of you. You just got to get it out of you. But make sure you're communicating with someone who's a positive influence in your life, because some people just bring dirt to the party just to turn your tears and dirt into mud and then leave you there. So at this point, you should be well aware of your values. It's January. The first worksheet, as we'll get into, asks the question, is it time to leave? As you go through the year and you do your decatastrophizing pages, make sure you're reaching out to people who share a value of yours, who can be of service to you emotionally, logically, within reason. That way your anxieties are not overwhelming you. This page, this page, this page, and this page are meant to help you to center yourself during an anxious moment or an anxiety attack, okay? I hope you find this to be as helpful as I feel it is for me, but it's not going to work if you don't use it. By the time you get to the 4th page, you should be able to do this for yourself out loud without writing it down. What am I worried about? How likely is that to happen? If it does happen, what's the worst that could happen? What's really going to happen? And then divide your emotions based on how will I feel in a week, a month, a year. If it's not going to matter in a few months or a year, let it go. Don't give it all of your attention right now, right? I love it. I hope you guys love it too. So let's go over to personal finance tracker. This section was really good for me because I had a lot of medical bills for my daughter when she was born. She had to go to some specialists. Well, I had to go to specialists during my pregnancy that were not covered by my insurance company. And back then, I definitely wasn't making the money. I was very irresponsible with my spending. I wasn't wasting it on like clothes or vacations. I was wasting it on food and alcohol. Like, it was ridiculous. Still fun, but ridiculous. But it says, have you ever found yourself worrying about overdrawing your account, wondering if a payment you made will affect a recent transaction, wondering how to catch up with late fees and overdraft charges, forgetting whether or not you paid a bill, trying to remember your username and password to pay a bill? If you have experienced any of this before, this section is for you. Literally, if you feel like this is something that resonates with you, please pay attention to this section because it's going to be great. So I switched out my personal planner for this one just for the sake of privacy. But as you can see, it gives you the company name, contact name and number, website, username, password, account number, amount due, and due date. And it gives you enough space to put a lot of them. You shouldn't have but so many. And if you have business bills, then there's a different section back here for business. So your car payment, Amy Smith, website, username, password. This is great. You're not putting your banking account and routing number in here, anything like that. So, I mean, if someone opens up your book and sees your username and password and they want to pay your bill, tell them thank you. Other than that, they're just being nosy. But it's just convenient to have all of this together. Like if you have an iPhone, you have your Apple login, you have this, you have your Google, you have your Outlook, you have all of the different websites you go to, and some of them are saved. And then your banking, online banking apps have passwords, and sometimes you put the wrong passwords in and then you do it so much that you get locked out. So now you got to change out that one and now you forgot the other one. It gets to be a lot. If you can write down your bills, usernames, and passwords here, then it's just easier to deal with. And some people could say like, oh, well, I just use my phone. In the society that we are in now, a lot of jobs don't even want you to have your phones out. So it's great that you have all that information on your phone, and you're not supposed to have your phone on your desk. But guess what? You can have your planner on your desk. What are you going to do anyway? Go on the computer and do non-work related things. So why don't you pay your bill without getting in trouble? See? Good old-fashioned pen and paper. And the next page is pretty great because it correlates to this. So this is where you put your monthly bills, things that have an invoice, not invoice, but things that come out monthly on this particular due date. And it doesn't have to be in any order, however you feel like writing it. This page keeps tabs of the payments that you've made monthly. So let's say you had a parking ticket, that's going to go on there. You had to get your car fixed, that's going to go on there. Let's say you're splitting up payments or choosing not to pay a payment on a particular month, that goes on there. Now the other page only explains how often you need to pay something and how much you have to pay. This page is talking about how much you paid when you paid it. So let's say the car payment. We know that the car payment is $240. But when you get paid, you realize that you don't have enough to cover that car payment because you haven't started budgeting yet. So you're only going to pay half of it. Well, I put that little sign there to just represent a partial payment. Sometimes people forget that they made a partial payment and then next month they start paying their bills off as if it was a regular month. No, my G, you still owe half of your payment from January, which means February you need to be paying a payment and a half. Parking ticket, boom. You got to add that on there because that's not something that will go on a monthly bill. That just randomly popped up. And that's not necessary to put, but if you want to keep track of parking tickets, how much you've paid for this, how much you paid for that, this is a good guide for it. Car stuff. If you've kicked out $500 and some of it probably came from your savings, or maybe you really had to pull into your own finances, you might want to know why you're at a deficit for everything else because you just pulled $500 from whatever account you chose. Maybe your phone bill, you negated to pay it in January, and then in February you decide that you're going to pay it. But guess what? If you only pay, let's see, if your phone bill is $100 and you don't pay $100 in January and you pay $100 in February, you still owe $100. Which means if you pay $100 in March, you're still going to owe $100. You're going to be a month behind at all times, but at least you know and you're aware, opposed to saying, hey, I paid my cell phone bill this month. I don't know why I still owe money. That's why you owe money. It's really simple. I give you 2 pages for that because it's 365 days and probably a leap year. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just joking. Medical bills tracker. Same exact thing. Your service, when it was done, service due date, regular due date, amount due, account number, invoice number. This is awesome because when you get a service done, sometimes they send you repeat invoices over and over. And if you let them pile up, you'll be under the impression like, wow, I just owe this one place so much money. No, it's the same thing with maybe a late fee that they've added. And it's just more organized if you write it down opposed to just having all of these random envelopes and letters hanging out everywhere. So take the time to write all that information down and try to pay them off as soon as possible, because eventually it will go to collections. Maybe not as fast as something else, but I've had medical bills from when Sydney was born and when I was pregnant that have gone to collections now, which is why I created the debt tracker. So if you have bills, utilities, medical, etc. that have been sent to collections, you would remove it from the previous bill tracker and then enter it here. And as you continue to pay it off, you just cross out the old amount and you just keep it updated. So like, let's say patient first was originally on the other page, like here. I will cross it out here and add it over here. And I'm talking to the company because now they're calling my phone, but I know who they are because the original creditor was patient first. They were the people on the other page that was the original company. But now PCI is the collections agency that are collecting money on behalf of patient first. And they say that I owe $500. So I'm like, okay, let's set up a payment plan. I'll pay you guys 5 payments of $100 starting this month. If I miss the payment, now they're blowing up my phone. I'm avoiding them. And I'm like, you know what? I got to figure this out. So I decided to give them flat $250. And then from there, I just give them $100 here, $50 here, $50 here until it's paid off. And that's what you see. That's why this column is so row is so long, so that you can continue to pay it off and pay it off. And the same thing here. If you want the money that you put onto one, you can snowball it. So if you were originally putting $50 on patient first and then like $100 in the emergency room, if you had a third one, instead of putting 100 or 50, maybe you could put 150. Something like that. It's up to you. We won't go down that road. You can customize paying your bills as you please. But the point is that you just have more control because you know exactly where your money is, who is asking for money, when you gave out money, and when your money is due. Don't be overwhelmed by this, people. This is what being an adult looks like. And a lot of us suck at it. So this is your chance to unsuck. Be less sucky. Avoiding it does not make it go away. And that's the point of this section of the planner, to help you to look at it face on and make the right choices for yourself. Take a breather, pause this video, go have a snack or something, because this budget page is about to blow your mind. All right. So the Bare Budgets method. This is a budget form that a friend of mine, she has her own company called Bare Budgets. She is into encouraging financial literacy, especially for young ones. But as adults, we need it too, because we're terrible with money. I'm speaking in behalf of you. And if not you, someone in your family, you're closely related to someone who's irresponsible financially. So if you're great with it, help them out. If not, listen up right now. We're just going to follow the steps. I'm not going to read it per se, but I'm going to explain it. Step 1, this is what you do. Step 2, but feel free to read it as you're going through it. So for step 1, we're going to write down financial goals. And this is just something that I've made up. I'm not sure how much anyone else gets paid, but I just put it up here for an example. Just something I made up. So the person in this budget wants to plan a vacation for their family, increase their credit, get on track with paying student loans. This person is decidedly in school again this semester, so they were able to push back their loans, student loans, and not have to focus on them just now, and decided to pay off their credit card bills recently so that they wouldn't have anything monthly. So kudos. But the next thing is with step 2 is to list out your bills by name, list out your monthly payments, and then factor in how often you get paid. So if you get paid bi-weekly, that means you get paid twice a month. So every 2 weeks you get paid. There are some people that get paid once a month. There are other people that get paid weekly. The point of breaking up the bill based on how often you get your check is not because you're going to pay your bills twice or 4 times. It's just so that instead of having a week where you get more bills taken out of your check, where you're broke one week and just feel like you got a whole bunch of money the next week, this allows you to have consistency, and it takes out the money in an even way so that you always know what you have at the end of each check. So in this scenario, the person gets paid weekly, so that $250 car payment will be divided into 4, which means every pay period, every week, $63 will go towards that $250 monthly car payment. And you'll do the same for each and every bill. So instead of it being that total, which isn't important, you'll total up this, and that's how much your bills are a week. That's how much your bills are a month. This is how much your bills are a week. From there, you want to place your income. So like I said, if you get paid weekly, put how much your check is a week at the top. Now we need to factor in deductions, because before you can start using your money, you need to make sure you're paying who needs to get paid. Let's say your alimony is $100 a month. That means if you divide it by how many times you get paid, which is 4, you'll be paying $25. If you owe $400 worth of child support, but you get paid weekly, you'll divide $400 divided by 4, and that's where you get the $100. Everybody is getting paid. Child support, the spouse, the ex-spouse or whatever, bills are getting paid, and literally each week all you have is $113. Now generally someone will feel like they owe it to themselves to spend this money and have a good time because all their money is gone. But you really need a savings account, because in case of emergencies, you won't have any money, you know? So at least maybe $20 in one savings, $10 in another. So you'll have like long-term savings and short-term. That way you can start planning a vacation for your family. And short-term is if something was to happen and you had to get your car fixed, like we were talking about that car stuff over in monthly payments. You could pull that money out of your short-term and be able to save it and spend it, opposed to having a random weekend where you didn't save up any money and you only have $113. So you're setting yourself up to be great here, despite what it looks like, because it says money left to spend. You literally, after paying all of this, have $83 left to spend. That sucks. That absolutely sucks, because this list over here does not include gas. It doesn't include putting food in the house. It doesn't include entertainment, you know. It doesn't include co-pays if you go to the doctors, things like that. So it gives you a couple things to think about when you start looking at your budget. Can you afford the lifestyle that you have? If you can't, then that means you need to make some additional sacrifices to your lifestyle, or it means that you need to consider an additional source of income to add to your current position, or trying to get a promotion or finding another company. But a lot of people aren't aware of that, because they just feel like, oh man, I got $800 check, but I don't know where it's going, and I'm always behind, and my account gets overdrawn, and then blah blah blah. This is what your money looks like. Put it on paper, y'all. Put it on paper. It's a lot, but it's important. It's just really, really important. So it says the next step is crucial. It will require you to move and manage your accounts and funds differently, but it'll make things easier in the end. So with step 4, you want to make sure you're setting up direct deposit. That's really important. Your funds have to be deposited in a particular order. Because let's say you are missing a day from work. You still want to make sure $562 go to your bills. You still want to make sure alimony, child support, bills are paid, and that money goes into your savings, both of them. Which means if you miss a day from work, it's going to come out of your money left to spend, because the order that you're doing your direct deposit. And if you look down here at the bank setup, your bills are going to come out first, which is a checking. Next will be your savings account. And then third will be your spending. Trust and believe, before you even see this on your check, the government has already taken this out. So it'll be your responsibility to make sure that your bills, your savings, and you get paid. And because it's going in at this order, the last thing on here will be what is affected by a short check. It's not going to affect that one or that one. It'll be this one. I suggest that you have your checking and savings in 2 different banks, because it's too easy to transfer money when they're housed in the same bank. And I've learned that the hard way. So I have a credit union over there and a 2 checkings accounts in another bank. And it just works out perfectly. So this is the beginning of budgeting. It goes a lot deeper than this. This is layman's terms. This is what I was able to comprehend. I use Stephanie for my services, because like I said, she introduced me to her bare budget method. We worked on this form together So I'm definitely proud of that. Everyone has their own way of learning, but per usual, I like to be as organized as possible. So when she was going through my finances with me, I needed her to explain it and I needed it to look a certain way. So the tag teaming of this just brought it together in such a beautiful way, and I was able to add it to my planner, courtesy of her and her company. So if you have any more questions, reach out to her on Instagram, her website, barebudgets.com. Her Instagram is Bare Budgets. I believe her personal one she posts up occasionally, but her business one is one to follow. And yeah, just reach out to her. She's great. She's really nice, and she responds quickly. So see if she can be of service to you. Hopefully this budget does not confuse you. If it does, once again, reach out to me. Email address, hello@thepaperlifecoach.com. All right. So, like I said, that's just for the personal. I also have one for businesses. And even though you don't have a business yet, by the end of this year, you may decide to start one. But just like the other one, it gives you space for your monthly bills, monthly payments. It also gives you space for vendor and supply contact lists. So if you get your things from one place and you keep notes about it, like maybe when it's in season, they give you a 50% discount. When something is out of season, just those type of things. The rep that you work with, the account number. And you can choose to put your account number on there or not. That's completely up to you. Your supply list, the things that you know you always get, the amount or price. That way it's just housed in one general area. You're definitely free to put it in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. But like I said, sometimes your laptop is dead. Sometimes your iPad can't work. But your planner is always going to be there. Unless you leave it at home, so factor that in. Anyway, expense tracker, your vendor, item description, amount, payment, cash, credit card, or check, date, and notes. And so this is great for someone who's starting out that doesn't want to pay monthly for any app or thing because you haven't brought in enough income to afford so many expenses and overhead. So you can keep track of your annual sales on your own as well. Just take it for all you can. I mean, there's so many resources within this planner. Lots of dot grid pages, space for you to write. 2020 reflection, all types of awesome things. And then, of course, the 2021 planner, the references page, and a nice double-sided folder. So, yeah, it's a lot of information in here. I am very excited about 2020. This year has gone by so fast, so time definitely flies when you're having fun and also when you're just busy. And the goal for us is to be busy doing good things, positive things. Even if it's a few lateral moves, you're still moving. We're just going to make progress there. So I will talk to you guys again. It will be whenever you click the next video, because both of them will be done, where we will go over organizing and planning. All right. Now, it's up to you if you want to take another break and, like, you don't know, go eat an Oreo or something like that, take a nap. Or you can wait a day and we can, have a fresh set of eyes, because the organizing and planning will be fun. So if you want, before you open up the organizing and planning section, before you click that next video to play, I want you to write down a couple of goals, okay? And with those goals, I want you to write down what you think would help you to accomplish those goals, like the steps that you could take. And from there, we can work on that together. I'll slow down a little bit more in that section. And it won't be as long as this section was. So you don't have to worry about another hour-long video. Because essentially all of the months are repeating themselves. The only thing that's different are the actual worksheets that are inside of each. And I'm not reading the worksheets. That's your opportunity to connect with yourself and just become familiar with each month and what it provides for you. So, yeah, write down some goals. Write down a couple of steps. At least 3 or 4 steps for each goal that you make. It's up to you how many goals you write, and we're going to go over it together. Hopefully this was helpful for you. I'm going to say my email address again. hello@thepaperlifecoach.com. Give me some feedback. Yeah, that's it. Break.